Hey everyone, I'm Beverly and I'm here today with Jedimanda and her newest creation, Creative
This,
Cosplay.
this thing, it's not a cosplay, it's a book. My
Girl,
newest creation.
you wrote a book. This is
Did.
this is incredible. Holy cow. I'm just okay, so I have one too. Thank you for sending it to me. Um
Of course.
how amazing is this book? I literally read this cover to cover.
Yay, good.
Except for like the copyright information, like I didn't read
Yeah,
the
there's
here.
nothing fun in there. I didn't
Yeah.
really hide anything in there.
Yeah.
I wanted to hide like some kind of like Baby Yoda joke, but I don't think they would have gone for that.
Oh. Well, next time in your next book, if you do another one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's dive in. So everybody, this is Amanda, Jedimanda. You know her as Jedimanda, the award-winning, amazing cosplayer that is just blows our mind with everything that she does. Um, she wrote this phenomenal book, and we're here today to talk a little bit about this because we're doing a virtual tour, right? Because pandemic and new book plus tour, we have to do this virtually. So
Yes.
this is all part of the virtual tour of your book. So let's dive in. I know you've been like talking, probably answering the same questions over and over again, but um, how did this book begin? Like, what did they approach you to write it? Have you always wanted to write a book? Tell me a little bit about it.
So they approached me and I always never I okay, back it up. I never thought I would write a book because I went to school for art. I was not a person with words. I painted. That's what I did and then make clothes. And so my, writing habits in college were never great. And so when they reached out to me, the first thing I said was absolutely not. I was like, I
Really?
can't write. Yeah. I
Oh my
said, I
gosh.
can't, I'm not a good writer. Like, I don't, what are you even thinking? Like, you're coming to a cosplayer who just makes clothes and I make video. Like, that's pretty much it. And they were like, well, look at it this way. The majority of our authors that make books with us, because it's a publishing company that reached out to me, one of their book agent people, the majority of people are artists first, and
Yeah.
we are here to help you figure the knowledge in your brain to make it into a book. And so I was
To
like,
translate.
okay,
Nice.
so I can write and you guys can help me form things. I'm like, I'm not doing MLA citations. I'm not doing any kind of weird formats that college drilled into my head. And they were like, no. This is actually, I don't want to say easy because this is not at all easy. But it's more simple than you think because they were very awesome in how into telling me how everything was going to be laid out and how I was going to write certain things at certain times and I have these deadlines to hit. And I, after a lot of thought and talking with my family and friends, said, yeah, okay, let's do this. And here it is.
Girl, well, that is amazing. Now you get to like stick that feather in your cap too, and like the wheelhouse of things that you have done.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what was were there any similarities between like writing this book and making a cosplay? Like it's how much of a pivot was that?
I mean, yeah. Well, first off, it's a pivot to complete words. There was
Yeah,
no art besides the art I already created, which are the
yeah,
photos that Alex and I took together.
yeah.
And but it's also very similar because I set myself, I am a deadline person. Like I have
Mhm.
to give myself a hard date to hit or it will never get done.
Yeah,
And they were very flexible with me at the beginning because I had a really hard time just putting thought to paper. Like I
yeah,
just was, I don't know what to say. Like I don't know how to say it. And so they were like, well, the first thing you need to do is we need to write a table of contents. That is what's going to be in your book. And then from that, you branch off into write the sections that you need to write.
yeah.
And so that actually helped me a ton. And being able to write about um, social media first, I think was the first chapter I wrote, was the stuff on social media. And that is very, you can research that and just write your research
Sure.
versus write your intro first and talk about your life.
Right.
Which for me
Yeah.
is hard to do.
Right. Right. So, well, that's really interesting. I was wondering about that because first of all, I love that you included things like that. So it's the viewers and listeners, this book has so many, and I'm not going to spoil the book for you because you need to go buy this book. Buy this book.
Yes, please buy this book. Keep me
Buy
employed.
There are so many. So if you are a beginner, this is a must have. You must have this. And I love how easy this is to read. It's easy to follow. The sections make sense as far as like, because I've been cosplaying for a while, but all of this, I wish I had had this book when I had started because there's so many things out there. Like, how do you search for, like, I want to make this costume, but how do I even start?
I search for it? Yes. And they came to me asking for a cosplay 101 book. And I was like, I've done enough of those panels. I can talk about how to start stuff. Like, it's no big deal. Yeah. But as we were getting into it, I kept thinking about my peers and everybody that have, that we've been in the game for a long time, and we know how to start a costume, but we might not know how to research it or make a pin board or figure out, understanding social media. I mean, you can be making costumes all day long, but you might have never posted something online, you don't know.
Right.
And so that's definitely the beginning of the book, is kind of the foray into how, and then we get into, okay, let's do it now. What's the first step?
Yeah. Well, some of my favorite parts of this book, because again, I read the whole thing and I took notes. I have little like earmarks now. Oh, girl, look at this. Look at my notes. I took so many notes.
That makes me so happy. And to hear that, like, it was easy to read, that was like another one of my big things, because I write, well, I got a lot of knock for this in school, like not in my creative writing classes, but more or less the stuff about, because I took a lot of like art history and history courses, and I can't really write technically, but I can write narratively. And so I talk, like how I talk is how I write. And so I wanted it to be like okay, let's sit down, let's chat about elitism and cosplay, or let's sit and chat about fabric choices, and I'm going to give you like the lowdown, because I want it to be very easy to read, to where you can keep going and you're not reading a dictionary, or you're not reading an encyclopedia, because when it gets to the fabric, it kind of, especially when I was writing that section, it felt like I was just reiterating stuff you could find on Wikipedia. But I was trying to not do that.
But listen, listeners, that was one of the things that I wrote down, because I was just so impressed with like the condensed version. I feel like yes, I could go research, like, what's the difference between chiffon and the other one that I was organza. Yeah. See, I'm learning. Everyone, I am not a sewer. I will never think that I am a professional sewer. I can make anything out of foam and other things, but
I cannot do that. So
well, then thank you for writing this book for me, because when I was getting to that section, I was like, oh, okay, this is a section for fabric and like the different parts. And so I was reading through them. And I think that because you wrote it in your voice, the way that you would maybe just tell me, it felt like you were talking to me.
Yay. Good.
I feel like I was able to retain a lot of that, and certainly at least be able to go back to it. So it's earmarked now. And the only thing that I wish that was in this book was like a little, like a feel, like a sample, like this is what it feels like.
Oh my gosh, that would be like, so cool, but so like logistically ridiculous. Impossible.
Oh, totally impossible.
It's funny because like when I was done writing it, I had to provide the images for them, and I had to basically send them a box of my stuff that I had. And so they had to photograph it, like here. Yeah. Half of that is mine, half of it's not. And like when we get to the fabric stuff, all of the swatches you see are swatches of mine.
Oh,
and I tried to pair them to, like right here, to be like, oh, that's the swatch I used for Cersei. That's similar to this. And so those are actual stuff that I have. And so that was interesting that you say that, because I was like, that would have been really cool to add the swatches to the book, but also a nightmare.
Also a nightmare, yeah. You you mentioned the images pairing with things in the book, and I really appreciated that in the book, that it wasn't that because I've been such a fan of yours for so long, and I'm up to date with your costumes, and I've like the images
Stop.
that the images are just absolutely just gorgeous. I love seeing them again in this book, and I love having them paired with the fabric. And so now I know, like, oh, this is what this is. And I don't know, maybe you've said that before in your post, but to have it all here together kind of like wraps it in a nice little bow.
Yeah, especially
Very
because
cool.
there are some that I don't have any fabric left over, obviously, but it was interesting to go through my fabric stash and specifically pull stuff from like an outfit I made in 2015, and it
Yeah.
was last year, and I was doing that, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's
memories.
cute.
Oh, well, yeah, I had a lot of fun looking through the images. And yeah, let's talk real quick about your photographer who is like all over the in this book as well.
Freaking
God,
Alex and her
she is
badassery.
just she is just the most amazing work. Yeah, everyone, you need to go
Yeah,
follow her work as well.
this girl right here.
Yeah.
I dedicated a whole chapter of questions that I grilled to her. I was like, answer these questions.
No, and that was really great. You don't really get that perspective with a lot of other books too, that are kind of in this written like this. So it was really
Mhm.
nice. Also, like just gorgeous images. Oh my
Really.
gosh! And I found myself okay. So I'm a little bit less familiar with your Queenie costume, but now I want to see a lot of those pictures. Like I want to go look at it.
You
So this
barely
is
see
sort
any
of
of
like
those.
it's like a gallery of your work, and it definitely shows like how much you love and how much you dedicate
Thank
yourself
you.
to
That makes me feel really good
work.
because I wanted all of this to read as a package,
Yeah, yeah,
But it makes me feel good that everything flows well and looks nice because when I sent all the images to my publishing company, because I didn't design this, which was also one of the reasons I did the book, because I do have an associate's degree in graphic design, but I don't have the time to do any of that to make
sure.
a book. No, no, no. And as much as I love design and to do that kind of stuff project based wise, that was one of my questions with them. I was like, am I going to have to design this thing? Because I'm not. They were like, no, we have a whole design team. All you need to do is freaking write the book, provide the images. And I was like, and so when I sent all of the images to the design team, it was like they were so excited to work on something that wasn't quilts, and they were just so happy to see something so opposite. And so I told them in an email, I was like, I want you guys to have fun with it. I want this book to read very vibrant and very complimentary of the photography that's in it, but I don't want it to overtake it. And so
Sure.
I suggested, I was like, well, maybe let's do it like a comic book
Oh,
notebook styles. And
I
they
was
were
just
like,
gonna say that's
okay.
kind of what it looks like, how they designed it. So it was fun. It was fun. It
Yeah.
was a fun read.
They
Good
came
job,
back with the
publishers.
first, I know, they came back with the first design, the mock-up of a couple pages, and I just was like, oh, that's perfect, we're done. And they were like, usually people, we go through like tons of different design work. I was like, it's perfect, this is exactly what I wanted. It
Awesome.
complements, but it also makes it separate and fun to read because
Yeah.
it's also a medium that we're familiar with,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and it makes it unintimidating.
of.
So yeah. So
Oh, I know, that's good, that's good,
that
good.
was really, yeah, that was really great. So good job, publishers. I think
Good
that's such a
job,
great,
designers.
yeah, nice job, everybody. A round of applause for everybody. That's really great that they allowed you to be the expert in your thing that you're an expert at, and then they took the rest
And
of
they
it.
took
And
it. Yeah,
yeah,
I wrote a big thank you to all of them because I worked with a bunch of different people to make it. It wasn't just me and one person. So all of them, I just was like, thank you so much to help me get through this book. Because if I didn't, I don't know where it would have been, where it would have gone.
so did you start writing it before the pandemic happened?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I started
yeah.
writing. They came to me summer of 2018 is when
Dang.
they offered the
Okay.
book to me because somehow some way the I call her, she was my book agent. She was like the person who found me, kind of thing. She found me at Gen Con. I was a guest at Gen Con in 2018, and she saw me speak or something like that, and she was just like, well, she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. I was like, holy cow, that convention was a mess for me. How did you even think of that? And so she approached me summer of that, and then I officially signed the contract, I think October of 2018, and wrote it pretty much all last year, and finished it up probably right before I wouldn't say right before the pandemic hit, because I knew all of my deadlines, and I knew when this was coming out, because when they offered it to me, they give us 2 years to get everything from contract to book. And so obviously the book came out kind of right now, and 2 years ago is when I signed the contract. So I knew everything was going to hit, but last year was the bulk writing. I think the editing was mostly like December and January of this year, or December of last January of this year. That was when the major editing, and then it was just off to the presses, and I didn't see anything till my first, I think they gave it back to me like March was my first, like, here is everything designed, now let's go through all of this. And there's so many rounds of editing. I have so many different folders on my computer, but it was really cool to see the process of how this book was made, and just kind of be just a writer. Like just kind of just, okay, yeah, that looks good, it looks rad, and like, yeah, well done. And that's pretty much all it was.
That is so awesome. You're an author now. That is so cool.
So weird to think, because if you would have asked me that senior of high school, I would have laughed your pants off, because there was no way. I hated writing so much.
Well, I think you did a great job. It's really everyone, please go buy this book. Where can we find this book right now?
So right now it will be releasing worldwide September 25th. It is available for pre-order on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, and a couple of smaller online bookstores. And once 25th hits, it's when it's going to be sent out. But to my knowledge, as of per this past week, it will be available in Joann stores, Michael's, and then some other random art stores and online art stores. And it'll also be available on my website, but I have yet to release that. I have to get more books in my hands, but it is available for pre-order now, so you can get it right when it comes out on those websites.
That is so great. And this is all part of a virtual book tour. And so listeners, today is, oh my gosh, when this comes out, you will have a couple more days to go and enter to win a digital version of this book. So you can come to my page and find that. You can go to Jedimanda and find that there. The very last day is the 25th, right?
Correct.
And it's on your page, on Jedimanda on Instagram?
On Instagram.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me to talk to me about your awesome book. Everybody, you know what to do. Go buy her book.
Yes, please. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.